As the galaxy convenes to cast judgment on Earth, alien arrogance radiates from the grand halls of the Galactic Assembly. Broadcast across light years, the verdict is brutal and final. But humanity remains unnervingly calm, their silence a dark promise, an incomplete message, a sealed war room, and a cryptic warning from Earth's leader hint at power lurking beneath the surface, ready to shatter the cosmos's arrogance. Earth was never invited to the council. The sentence slammed into every listening chamber across the galaxy, a phrase dripping with derision and finality. The Galactic Assembly's grand hall on Lyra Prime was alive with restless murmurs and flashing holograms that danced across polished obsidian walls. Countless species gathered, tall, short, many-eyed, winged, scaled, and shimmering, each broadcasting their disdain for the planet that dared to defy ancient cosmic law. At the dais, the High Arbiter's voice rang cold and resolute. The Council's verdict is unanimous. Earth's defiance threatens the fragile order we have maintained for millennia. Sanctions will commence immediately. Around the hall, delegates exchanged glances. Zaltrax, the Virexi envoy, his 6 eyes narrowing to slits, hissed venomously. Primitive savages, unaware of their place in the galactic hierarchy, they ignore centuries of treaties, flout our rules, and endanger us all. The holographic display flickered, showing Earth's blue and green orb spinning slowly, a fragile speck of defiance surrounded by the vast, indifferent darkness of space. The image shifted to the recent transmissions Earth had sent, cryptic. Bursts of coded signals, some intercepted and declared violations of galactic protocol. Yet far from the pomp and fury of the assembly, on the homeworld itself, silence reigned. Cities lay eerily quiet, their usual chaos stilled by an unspoken tension. The world held its breath. Not in fear, not in panic, but in preparation. Beneath the surface of Earth, deep within hidden caverns and fortified bunkers, a vast network of command centers hummed quietly. In one such command chamber, dimly lit, walls lined with screens streaming endless streams of data, a last transmission played on loop. The message was incomplete, frozen mid-countdown, the final seconds forever lost, a heavy door sealed with a mechanical clang, cutting off all external noise. Inside, the atmosphere was tense, but controlled. Admiral Krylos stood before the main console, eyes fixed on the frozen screen. His voice was low, almost a whisper, but carried the weight of a threat older than the stars themselves. "You're not ready for what we buried." The room held its silence. Outside, distant satellites orbited Earth, unaware of the Armada hidden in shadowed hangars and underground shipyards, vessels designed for one purpose: judgment. "They thought we were alone," Kalen continued, turning to face his assembled commanders. "They never looked underground." A slow, ominous hum began to build, the sound of dormant engines awakening from centuries of silence. Ships engineered with technology gleaned from secrets forbidden to the rest of the galaxy, the culmination of humanity's desperate survival and unyielding will. Back on Lyra Prime, the broadcast shifted to the final vote tally, the Assembly's faces a mixture of triumph and contempt. They saw Earth as a single planet, primitive and isolated. They saw no threat beyond the surface, but Earth had learned to hide its teeth, and now, with the galaxy's eyes watching and judgment passed, the true war was about to begin. The stars, cold and indifferent, bore witness, but humanity's judgment. Armada was about to blaze across the void, bringing a reckoning no one expected. Beneath Earth's calm surface, a colossal hidden force rouses. The Judgment Armada awakens from decades of silence, their crews prepared for a war none foresaw. Meanwhile, alien spies try to infiltrate Earth's defenses but face brutal resistance. Humanity's secret technology shines, a fusion of ancient ingenuity and modern warcraft, revealing a power far beyond what the galaxy believed possible. The first strike is imminent. The subterranean hangars stretched farther than any starship bay in known space. Dim, cavernous, and humming with latent power, they were carved deep beneath Earth's crust, beyond the reach of satellites, scanners, and prying alien eyes. Here lay the Judgment Armada, sleek, angular warships glistening with dark alloys, lined in perfect formation like sleeping beasts ready to roar. A low, resonant thrum pulsed through the cavern as the Armada's power cores ignited. The air thickened with charged particles, and the once silent corridors erupted with life as crews donned armor and ran systems diagnostics. Captain Mira Volkov stood on the command bridge of the flagship Nemesis, her gaze steady despite the storm raging in her chest. Years ago, this fleet was a whispered rumor, a myth dismissed by the galaxy's elite as Earth's last desperate fantasy. But today, it was real and lethal. "Systems are green across the board," reported Lieutenant Rojas, fingers dancing over hollow controls. "Engines at full standby, weapons online and calibrated." Mira nodded. "Prepare for fleet synchronization. Launch protocol begins in 15 minutes. Outside, beyond Earth's atmosphere, alien surveillance drones flickered in and out. Of range, attempts to penetrate Earth's defenses escalated rapidly. Small stealth crafts from the Dravxin Collective zipped through the upper atmosphere, only to be met with swift and overwhelming force. A squadron of human-operated interceptors shattered the invaders with precision strikes, their plasma cannons painting the skies with fiery arcs. The galaxy had underestimated Earth's readiness, mistaking silence for weakness. Deep inside the command hub, Intelligence Officer Terren reviewed intercepted communications. "Dravxin operatives are scrambling to confirm the scale of our fleet. They assumed we had no ships capable of deep space engagement." "Let them assume," Mira replied coldly. "They'll learn the truth the hard way." The Judgment. Armada's technology was an amalgam of salvaged alien tech, reverse-engineered designs, and innovations born from Earth's own desperate survival. Energy shields that shimmered like liquid glass, propulsion systems defying classical physics, and weaponry capable of severing entire fleets in moments. Every ship was crewed by battle-hardened veterans, descendants of warriors who had survived. Centuries of isolation and stealth. Their loyalty was absolute, their resolve unbreakable. "Captain," Terren said, eyes flicking to the approaching star charts, "our first target is the Tyrvel Enclave, the command hub responsible for enforcing the sanctions." Mira's voice was steady, but her mind raced. This was more than a strike. It was a message. The galaxy had pronounced judgment on Earth. Now, Earth would deliver its verdict. "Engage stealth protocol. We launch at 0 hour. Outside, the Armada's dark silhouettes dissolved into the cosmic backdrop, disappearing from every known sensor. The first salvo of humanity's judgment was about to be unleashed, and the galaxy's arrogant gaze would shatter in its wake. The Judgment Armada strikes the Tyrvel Enclave with devastating precision, exposing the fragile arrogance of the galactic powers. Alien commanders scramble to comprehend Earth's sudden power surge. The battle's ferocity reveals humanity's ruthless efficiency and tactical genius, turning the tide and shattering the illusion of Earth's inferiority. The cold void was pierced by sudden light, silent, swift, and merciless. The Tyrvel Enclave, a sprawling nexus of gleaming towers and fortified battlements, orbited a gas giant in the outer rim. Within hours, it would be history. Admiral Krylos, the Enclave's overseer, watched the sensors flicker and panic. "They've slipped past our detection. Impossible!" The Tyrvel fleet scrambled, thrusters blazing as ships turned to face the unseen enemy. But the Judgment Armada moved like ghosts, engines cloaked, weapons primed for a lightning strike. On board the Nemesis, Captain Mira's voice was calm, commanding. "Deploy plasma lances. Target the command tower. A cascade of molten energy erupted, tearing through shielding with precision. Towers exploded in bursts of fire and debris. The Enclave's defenses crumbled faster than any could anticipate. Kethal's fury turned to disbelief as human fighters swarmed with relentless aggression. Each maneuver was calculated, every strike brutal yet efficient. The arrogance of centuries dissolved in the face of this new, cold reality. "This is not a primitive planet," Kethal admitted through clenched teeth. "This is a war machine." As explosions lit the horizon, Earth's forces pressed their advantage, striking with ruthless intent. The galaxy's judgment had been swift and cruel. Now humanity's retribution was unstoppable. The aftermath of the Tyrvel Enclave's destruction sends shockwaves through the galaxy. Alien powers scramble to regroup, their confidence shattered. On Earth, the Judgment Armada's commanders wrestle with the weight of their sudden rise to war. Humanity's defiance echoes like a thunderclap, both a warning and a promise. Yet hidden within the chaos lurks a secret that could tip the scales further, a mysterious weapon buried deep beneath Earth's surface, waiting for its moment to awaken. The sky above the Tyrvel Enclave burned with the dying fires of what once was a symbol of galactic authority. Vast towers crumbled like brittle glass, their remains falling into the swirling gases of the giant planet below. The Enclave's proud banner, the golden spiral of the Tyrvel, was torn down by plasma fire and steel. In the corridors of the shattered command center, survivors scrambled amid smoke and sparks. Sirens blared their final warnings, yet hope was a flicker fading fast. Commander Vraxis's voice trembled as she tried to coordinate a retreat. "Evacuate to secondary stations! Rally at Delta Point. We must preserve our forces." But the human strike had been surgical and unforgiving. Not a single moment wasted, not a single target missed. It was clear that this was no haphazard attack. It was a message, forged in years of silent preparation and unyielding resolve. Back on Earth, in the war rooms deep beneath the Pacific, Admiral Krylos studied the holographic reports flooding in. The destruction was near total, and the shockwaves from the assault rippled through the galactic communications net like a seismic quake. "Galactic powers are scrambling," Krylos said grimly. "The Council's confidence has fractured. Earth's position has shifted from pariah to power overnight." Lieutenant Teren's fingers traced the cascading data streams. The Enclave's fleets are retreating, but their intelligence networks are already mobilizing. Expect countermeasures within the next solar cycle. Captain Mira Volkov leaned forward, voice low but fierce. "We must prepare. This is only the beginning. The galaxy will not yield so easily." The war room's walls pulsed faintly, alive, with streams of encrypted messages, strategic overlays, and battle simulations. Amid the electronic symphony, an alert blinked insistently. Krylos tapped it, bringing up an image of an ancient symbol, a triangular sigil surrounded by concentric rings. "This came from the Eastern Hemisphere Deep Core Relay," Teren explained. "It's a signal from the vault." "The vault!" Krylos' voice dropped to a whisper. "The weapon we buried decades ago. The final ace in the hole." Earth's secret was more than just an armada. Beneath layers of geological strata and fortified steel, hidden from the prying eyes of the galaxy, lay a device of unimaginable power. Forged from materials found only in Earth's deepest crust, fused with technology scavenged from fallen stars, the vault had been humanity's last resort, should the galaxy ever declare total war. The commanders shared a moment of silent understanding. This weapon was not just a tool of destruction. It was a symbol of Earth's indomitable spirit, a last testament that the galaxy had underestimated the human race. Far from the command center, in subterranean vaults shrouded in silence, technicians activated ancient protocols. Massive conduits pulsed with energy as dormant systems awoke, sending waves of power through the underground network. The vault stirred, its core glowing with a fierce, unnatural light that seemed to hum in resonance with the planet itself. On the surface, civilians felt the subtle shift, a tremor beneath their feet, a hum in the air, a sense that the Earth itself was waking to a new dawn. Across the galaxy, the news of the Tyrville Enclave's fall ignited panic in council chambers, Senate halls and battle stations alike. The other races, once smug and dismissive, now whispered darkly of Earth's hidden potential and the reckoning that was fast approaching. But within Earth's commanders, a storm brewed, not just of external conflict, but internal doubt and resolve. The price of war was steep, and the path forward was as treacherous as the void itself. "War changes everything," Mira said quietly, her eyes scanning the vastness of space beyond the viewport. "But it also reveals who we truly are." The Judgment Armada was ready to burn a path through the galaxy's arrogance, but in the shadows of Earth's defiance, a deeper power awaited its moment, a power that could reshape the fate of stars and decide once and for all whether humanity would be the hunted or the hunter. In the wake of Earth's brutal assault, the galaxy's fragmented alliances begin to coalesce into a formidable opposition. Political machinations and covert operations weave a complex web of threats and intrigue. Meanwhile, on Earth, the Judgment Armada prepares for an inevitable counterattack, but whispers of betrayal within their own ranks threaten to unravel their hard-won unity. The stage is set for a war not just of weapons, but of wills. The stars held their breath. Far beyond the shattered remains of the Tyrville Enclave, corridors of power buzzed with frantic whispers and desperate counsels. From the crystalline halls of the Ilarian Senate to the subterranean chambers of the Dravixin warlords, old rivalries melted beneath the threat of a common enemy: Earth. Senator Valen of the Ilarian Dominion slammed her fist against the ornate table, her voice sharp and uncompromising. "This defiance cannot stand. If Earth is allowed to grow unchecked, every system under our influence will fall. We must unite, or we will all perish." The other delegates murmured agreement, but suspicion lingered in the air like a poison. The galaxy's political landscape was a minefield of alliances forged and broken over millennia. The notion of unity was fragile, held together by thin threads of necessity rather than trust. In the shadows of these grand halls, agents and assassins lurked, weaving their own plots. An informant whispered to a cloaked figure in a dim corridor, "The humans have secrets beyond their fleet, secrets some among their own would kill to protect." On Earth, the Judgment Armada's command was a fortress of discipline and vigilance. The assault had galvanized the planet's fractured nations into a singular force, but victory had come at a cost. Resources stretched thin, defenses vulnerable, and morale fragile. Admiral Krylos paced the war room, eyes dark with worry. "Intelligence reports show increasing sabotage attempts, inside and out. We cannot afford division now," Captain Mira, standing firm beside him, nodded. "We face enemies not only in the void, but within ourselves. Trust must be earned every day." A sudden alert cut through the tension, encrypted transmissions intercepted. The message was brief but chilling. "The shadows gather. The judgment's edge dulls." Lieutenant Terren's brow furrowed. "A warning, but from whom?" Kalen's jaw tightened. "From factions within the Armada, or worse, from the galaxy's hidden puppeteers." As the Armada prepared to face a galaxy united against it, Earth's leaders knew that survival demanded more than firepower. It required cunning, sacrifice, and a willingness to confront the darkness both without and within. The war was no longer simply a clash of fleets. It was a battle for the soul of humanity itself. The galaxy's united front strikes back fiercely, igniting brutal clashes across multiple star systems. Humanity's judgment. Armada faces overwhelming odds, but counters with ingenious tactics and unyielding spirit. In the heart of the chaos, key battles reveal the depths of human resilience and the cost of vengeance, setting the stage for a turning point in this interstellar war. Flames engulfed the blackness of space, a furious ballet of destruction and survival playing out across star-strewn battlefields. The combined fleets of the Galactic Council, now galvanized by Earth's defiance, surged forward like a tidal wave, intent on extinguishing the spark of rebellion before it could ignite further. The front lines stretched across sectors that had once been quiet outposts, now transformed into death zones where warships danced deadly maneuvers under relentless fire. Plasma beams seared through vacuum, explosions bloomed like fiery supernovae, and the screams of tearing metal echoed across comms channels. Aboard the Nemesis, Captain Mira Volkov gripped the console with white-knuckle determination. "Shields!" Holding at 60%, but the enemy is adapting fast. We need to break their formation. Lieutenant Rojas analyzed the tactical holograms, fingers flying. Deploying new phase disruptors, targeting their command frigates. If we take them out, it could fracture their control. Admiral Krylos' voice came steady through the comms. Remember, this is not just a battle for territory. It's a war for respect, for recognition, for the right to exist on our own terms. As the Judgment Armada unleashed pulse cannons and swarm drones, enemy vessels faltered under the unexpected ferocity. Earth's engineers had adapted ancient technologies with modern ingenuity, creating weapons that bent space-time itself, sending shockwaves that scrambled sensors and disabled enemy propulsion. But the cost was steep. Many ships burned, their crews lost to the void. Back on Earth, families watched screens with bated breath, praying for every life still tethered to the stars. Among the fiercest fighters was Lieutenant Hannah Malik, leading a squadron through a gauntlet of enemy fire. Her ship danced through missile storms and laser barrages with practiced grace, returning fire with surgical precision. "Hold the line!" Hannah's voice cracked with urgency. "We cannot let them breach the outer defenses," her squadron responded, fighting not just for survival, but for the dignity stolen from Earth by centuries of scorn. The battle raged for days, a grueling test of will and skill. Communications flickered with reports of heroism and sacrifice, of last stands and daring gambits. In the midst of chaos, Admiral Krylos issued a final order, voice resolute. "Prepare for counterstrike. The galaxy thinks this ends with their assault. They underestimate the fires of human retribution." As the Judgment Armada regrouped, engines glowing with renewed power, a storm was gathering, one that would shake the very foundations of the cosmic order. As brutal warfare rages, across star systems, a web of espionage and betrayal threatens to unravel humanity's hard-won unity. Hidden factions within the Judgment Armada plot in the shadows, while alien operatives infiltrate Earth's defenses. Captain Mira and Admiral Krylos must navigate treachery from within and without to safeguard the future of humanity's revolt. The aftermath of the fires of retribution was not just a battlefield scarred by fire, but a landscape shadowed with suspicion. Within the steel heart of the Judgment Armada's flagship, Nemesis whispers moved like ghosts, soft, unseen, yet dangerous. What could not be won with weapons was sought in shadows, where loyalties wavered and secrets festered. Captain Mira Volkov sat alone in her quarters, the weight of command pressing heavily upon her. The events of the recent battles played over. In her mind, victories won at devastating cost, trust questioned in every corner. A soft chime interrupted her thoughts. The secure channel blinked. Admiral Krylos' voice was terse. Mira, we have reason to believe a mole operates within our ranks. She closed her eyes briefly. How deep does this go? Deep enough to threaten the integrity of the entire Armada. Intelligence intercepted a transmission, an encrypted plea for sabotage and information. The corridors of the flagship felt colder as the revelation spread. The enemy was no longer just the fleets beyond the stars. It was a poison growing from inside. Meanwhile, across Earth's sprawling networks, operatives from the elusive Geltar Syndicate, a shadowy alien cabal, slithered through digital defenses. Their goal, destabilize Earth's war effort by any means necessary. Lieutenant Turen worked feverishly to track anomalies, cyber trails that twisted like smoke through the Armada's systems. They're experts at hiding, but we've traced a pattern, a web of encrypted nodes linking to one of our supply depots. Admiral Krylos clenched his fists. We cannot afford breaches, not now. Seal off all vulnerable systems and initiate counterintelligence protocols. Captain Mira's mind raced. Betrayal within was a wound worse than any weapon. She summoned her closest confidants, initiating an internal investigation. The lines between friend and foe blurred, paranoia seeping into every decision. In a dimly lit interrogation chamber, a suspect sat silent, eyes cold and unreadable. The truth dangled precariously between confession and denial. Outside, the Judgment Armada prepared for the next engagement, unaware how perilous the battle would be. Not in space, but within. The galaxy's forces watched and waited, sensing the cracks. But Earth's defiance burned not just in weapons, but in unyielding resolve, one that would not break, no matter the shadows that sought to divide. The galaxy's forces converge on Earth's last stronghold in a colossal siege that will test humanity's endurance and spirit like never before. As the Judgment Armada fights desperately to hold the line, personal sacrifices and fierce camaraderie reveal the human heart beating beneath the war machines. The Crucible is not only a battle for survival, but a forge that will either break or birth legends. The darkness above Earth was alive with fire. For months, the Galactic Coalition had marshaled its fleets, a swirling tempest of steel and death converging on humanity's final bastion, the sprawling orbital fortress of Aegis. Prime, a sentinel poised in silent defiance above the planet's battered surface, it was both shield and sword for the Judgment Armada. Now, it was the crucible in which the fate of humankind would be forged. From the observation deck aboard Nemesis, Captain Mira Volkov stood motionless, her eyes tracing the glittering armada amassing beyond the atmosphere. The sight was overwhelming. Thousands of ships, each a spear aimed at Earth's heart, a storm born of fear, hatred, and grudging respect. Their sleek lines and brutal weaponry bore the scars of countless battles, but their numbers spoke a ruthless certainty. "Commander," Admiral Krylos' voice cut through the quiet, tense as the still air before a tempest. "This is our moment, the crucible of all we have fought for." Mira didn't reply immediately. Her gaze shifted to the distant warships, each a mirror of the galaxy's contempt, and then to the screens before her, streaming live feeds from the surface. Below, Earth itself was a fortress, vast underground bunkers, sprawling defense grids, and the relentless pulse of power generators keeping the Armada alive. Millions of civilians had been evacuated or hidden deep beneath the crust, their fates intertwined with the outcome of this colossal battle. Her thoughts flickered to Lieutenant Hana Malik, commanding a squadron of fighters in the lower atmosphere, poised to meet the enemy's vanguard. Hana's fearless spirit had become a beacon of hope, a symbol that humanity was more than just steel and fire. A sudden alarm shattered the moment. "Incoming fleet formation detected. Sector 12. Enemy capital ships moving to flank our eastern." "Defenses," the tactical officer reported. "Divert interceptor squadrons," Mira ordered sharply. "Engage electronic countermeasures. We cannot let them breach the shield. The battle erupted with brutal immediacy. Pulses of energy surged through the void as plasma torpedoes streaked toward their targets. Explosions blossomed like deadly flowers in the blackness, casting eerie light over the battered hulls of human and alien alike. Hana's fighters weaved through missile storms, dodging debris and laser fire with practiced grace. Her voice crackled over comms, steady despite the chaos. Hold formation. Focus fire on the lead frigate, disable their command link. Back on the Nemesis, the bridge was a symphony of controlled chaos. Officers barked orders, analyzing streams of data, adapting to the shifting tide of battle. Admiral Kalen's eyes were sharp, his mind a razor's edge. We must protect the shield generators at all costs. If they fall, Aegis Prime will be exposed. Suddenly, a deafening shockwave rattled the fortress. Sensors blinked furiously as the enemy unleashed a barrage of gravity mines, warfare that bent the very fabric of space-time. Mira's heart pounded as she watched an explosion tear through the outer shield layer. Brace for impact. All hands to battle stations. Amid the turmoil, moments of humanity shone bright. Medics rushed to tend wounded crew members, their hands steady even as alarms blared. Engineers fought to repair damaged systems, sweat mingling with the grime of war. In the depths of the fortress, soldiers prepared for boarding parties. The alien coalition was not content with bombardment. They sought to claim Aegis Prime by force. Lieutenant Rojas rallied his team, determination blazing in his eyes. We hold the corridors. No enemy sets foot beyond these walls. The boarding battles were brutal. Corridors echoed with the clash of energy blades, gunfire, and the desperate cries of the fallen. Friendships forged in fire sustained them, each soldier a testament to humanity's indomitable will. Amidst the carnage, Mira received a coded transmission from an unexpected source. Commander Vraxis, the Tyrvel officer they had captured months earlier. Her message was brief, but its implications profound. The Council fractures. Some seek peace. Trust no one fully. Kalen frowned. The enemy was not only outside, but within. Political fissures threatened to splinter the fragile coalition. Offering hope and peril in equal measure, the battle raged for days, each moment stretching the limits of endurance. Supplies dwindled, casualties mounted, and the specter of defeat loomed ever closer. Yet, through the smoke and fire, humanity's spirit blazed fierce and unyielding. On the observation deck, Mira whispered to herself, "This is our crucible, and we will not break." As stars burned overhead, and the galaxy held its breath, Earth's defenders fought not just for survival, but for a legacy, one that would echo across the cosmos for generations to come. As the relentless siege tightens, humanity's leadership makes bold, desperate decisions to break the enemy's grip. Underground movements and daring counterattacks converge, showing the fierce will to survive and reclaim freedom. Allies arise from unexpected places, and the true cost of breaking the chains of oppression is revealed in sacrifice and resolve. The siege of Aegis Prime had stretched into weeks, an unyielding pressure squeezing Earth's last line of defense. The orbital fortress, once a symbol of strength and invulnerability, now bore the scars of ceaseless assault. Its shield flickering like a dying star, its corridors scarred by boarding incursions, its defenders battered but unbroken. Captain Mira Volkov stood amid the war room's dim glow, eyes sharp with determination. The flickering holomap showed the tightening noose of the Galactic Coalition's blockade. Communications from surface forces told stories of brutal resistance and sacrifices made in shadows underground. "Admiral Kalen," Mira began, voice steady though her heart raced. "We cannot hold out forever behind these shields. We need to strike at the Coalition's supply lines. If we break their grip, we break the siege." Kalen nodded, his expression grave. "Agreed. But such strikes require precise timing and coordination. Our resources are stretched thin. In the silence that followed, Lieutenant Teren's fingers flew over the interface, decrypting intercepted coalition comms. There's unrest growing within their ranks, discontent over the prolonged war and heavy casualties. Some factions may be willing to negotiate if pressured correctly. Mira's gaze hardened. Then we give them a reason to reconsider. Prepare the strike teams. We hit their fuel depots in the Lysara system. It's their lifeline. As plans unfolded, underground movements on Earth's surface stirred. Civilians and soldiers alike took up arms, disrupting coalition surveillance and sabotaging equipment. Hope bloomed in the darkest places. Lieutenant Hannah Malik led a daring raid through the asteroid belts, guarding Lysara's refineries. Her squadron darted through enemy patrols, guided by stealth tech born from Earth's most secretive research. Explosions rocked the fuel stores, sending fiery cascades into the void. Back on Aegis Prime, the coalition fleet faltered as supply lines erupted in chaos. Rumors of dissent and mutiny trickled through the enemy ranks, a fragile hope for humanity. But the victory was bittersweet. Mira received word that one of the underground bunkers had fallen, its defenders lost to overwhelming force. Among the fallen was Lieutenant Rojas. His sacrifice bought precious time for evacuation. In a quiet chamber, Mira stood before his empty chair, silent tears betraying her stoic facade. "We break these chains for you," she whispered. As the battle raged onward, alliances shifted and the tide slowly turned. The chains that once bound Earth tightened, only to be shattered by the unyielding spirit of its people. The crucible had forged a new dawn, a future earned in blood and fire, where freedom was not given but, after months of relentless conflict, cracks appear in the Galactic Coalition's unity as Earth's resilience and strategic strikes inspire doubt and dissent among enemy ranks. A pivotal battle unfolds that will decide whether humanity can capitalize on newfound momentum or be crushed beneath overwhelming force. Personal sacrifices and unexpected alliances shape the war's uncertain future. The dawn broke not just over Earth, but across the entire war-torn expanse of the galaxy. It was a fragile light, tentative and hesitant, like the first breath after a suffocating storm. Yet in that light lay the seed of hope, a hope born from fire, sacrifice, and the indomitable will of humanity. The Coalition's Armada, once a monolith of terrifying power, now showed signs of fracture. The prolonged siege, the relentless strikes against supply lines, and the rising toll of casualties had sown discord among its disparate members. Whispers of dissent wove through the halls of power, even as battle raged on. Captain Mira Volkov watched from the command bridge of the Nemesis as reports flooded in. Factions questioning leadership, strategic disagreements splintering command, and some even quietly opening channels of communication with Earth's emissaries. "Admiral Kalen," Mira said, eyes locked on the holomap tracking the Coalition's movements. "This is our chance. We must press hard before they seal their divisions." Kalen nodded solemnly. "The upcoming engagement at the Drayden Expanse could break the war. We either turn the tide or lose everything." Across the starfield, the two fleets faced off. Thousands of ships glinted like cold stars, each one carrying the hopes, fears, and lives of millions. The tension was electric, every captain, every soldier waiting for the command that would set the storm in motion. Lieutenant Hannah Malik prepared. Her fighters, her voice steady yet fierce over the comms. "Today we fight not just for Earth, but for the future of every free world. Hold fast, strike true." The battle erupted with devastating ferocity. Energy beams carved streaks across the void, missile salvos thundered through darkness, and command ships exchanged volleys of tactical genius and ruthless aggression. Amid the chaos, key moments unfolded. Lieutenant Rojas's squadron, reconstituted in spirit by those who revered his sacrifice, held a vital choke point, buying critical time for fleet maneuvers. A surprise alliance with a splinter faction of the coalition emerged, their ships turning against their former masters and joining the fray alongside Earth's forces. Captain Mira, in the heart of the maelstrom, felt the crushing weight of command, but also the surge of hope. Every maneuver, every decision carried the lives of thousands, yet she steeled herself, knowing that failure was not an option. Hours bled into days as the battle pushed both sides to their limits. Ships fell, heroes rose, and the fabric of the war stretched taut. In a decisive strike, Earth's forces crippled the coalition's flagship, sending shockwaves through enemy ranks and fracturing their command. The coalition's retreat was chaotic, but decisive, a withdrawal that marked the first real defeat of the war. On Nemesis, cheers erupted, but Mira knew the fight was far from over. "This is but the turning tide," she said quietly. "We must remain vigilant." As the galaxy absorbed the shock of Earth's resilience, the seeds of change took root. Change that promised a future shaped not by tyranny, but by the courage of those who dared to resist. The final confrontation arrives as Earth and the fractured Galactic Coalition face off in a battle that will determine the fate of humanity and the galaxy itself. With sacrifices weighing heavy and hope burning fierce, the Judgment Armada unleashes its full power. The legacy of defiance culminates in a mythic clash where humanity claims its place, not as prey, but as a sovereign force. The void was still. For a heartbeat, the stars held their breath as the greatest fleets the galaxy had ever seen stood poised on the edge of destiny. Above the battered but unbowed Earth, the Judgment Armada gathered its full might, ships gleaming like swords forged for this final hour. Captain Mira Volkov stood on the bridge of the Nemesis, every sense tuned to the vastness beyond the viewport. This was the moment they had prepared for through blood and fire, the moment when humanity's defiance would either blaze into legend or be snuffed out in darkness. "Admiral Kalen," she said softly, "the dawn we've fought for is here." Kalen's voice was steady, but carried the weight of countless losses. "The galaxy's arrogance ends today. We fight not just for Earth, but for every world crushed beneath their judgment." As the first volley lit the void, the battlefield exploded into a symphony of destruction and valor. Energy cascaded across starfields, warships danced deadly ballets of maneuver and fire, and the echoes of sacrifice rang louder than any weapon. Among the chaos, stories unfolded, pilots who refused to yield, soldiers who stood firm against impossible, odds and commanders who bore the burden of impossible decisions with unwavering resolve. The Judgment Armada's secret weapon, the Vault, rose from Earth's depths, its cataclysmic power unleashed in a devastating wave that shattered enemy formations and turned tides with mythic force. As the flagship carved a path through the heart of the coalition, Mira's voice rang clear. For Earth, for humanity. The enemy faltered, their once unshakable confidence shattered by the storm of retribution and unity forged in the crucible of war. When silence finally settled over the battlefield, it was not the silence of defeat, but of a new beginning. Earth stood sovereign, not as a pariah, but as a force to be reckoned with. Its Judgment Armada, a symbol of defiance, resilience, and the unyielding will to claim its place among the stars. As dawn broke across the planet, below, Mira looked to the horizon with hope. The galaxy had judged Earth, but Earth had passed its own trial by fire. The Judgment's dawn had arrived. With the galaxy forever changed by Earth's defiant victory, new challenges arise as humanity steps onto the cosmic stage, not as rebels, but as architects of a fragile peace. Old enemies lurk in shadows, new alliances form, and the echoes of judgment continue to ripple across the stars. Earth must now face the daunting task of shaping the future it fought so fiercely to claim. The war was over, or so the galaxy thought. From the shattered remnants of the Galactic Council's once unassailable power, a new era began, a fragile, Peace stitched together with uneasy alliances and cautious respect. But beneath the celebrations and speeches lay a simmering undercurrent of tension. Captain Mira Volkov stood on the observation deck of the rebuilt Nemesis, her gaze fixed on the vast expanse of stars beyond. The battlefield had faded into memory, but the scars remained, etched deep into her soul and the fabric of humanity itself. Peace is a harder war, she mused quietly, the words almost lost in the hum of the ship's systems. Admiral Kalen joined her, his eyes reflecting the distant lights of distant worlds. We've won the battle, but the struggle for our place in the galaxy is only beginning. The victory had not been without cost. Countless lives lost, families torn apart, and a planet forever marked by conflict. But humanity's spirit had endured, rising from ashes like a phoenix to claim its rightful place among the stars. Yet shadows lingered. The Council's collapse had unleashed chaos, fractured factions vying for power, mercenary warlords carving territories, and ancient enemies lurking beyond known space. The Voidborn, a mysterious race whispered about in galactic legends, watched from the darkness, their intentions unknown but undoubtedly ominous. Within Earth's new governing body, the Interstellar Coalition, debates raged: how to balance expansion with diplomacy, how to wield power responsibly without becoming the very tyrants they had fought against. A sudden alert interrupted the contemplation. A distress signal from a remote colony on the edge of explored space. Communications had gone dark, and strange energy readings suggested a threat beyond conventional understanding. Mira exchanged a glance with Kalen. The fight was far from over. We must go, she said with resolve. The dawn we fought for demands vigilance. As the Nemesis and its fleet prepared to depart, new alliances solidified. Former enemies now bound by shared purpose, facing threats that transcended old grudges. In the silence of space, amidst the flickering stars, humanity's journey continued, not just as survivors or warriors, but as pioneers of a new cosmic order. The galaxy had judged Earth, but now Earth would judge its future. As Earth's fleet ventures into uncharted space to investigate the mysterious distress signal, they encounter an enigmatic force cloaked in darkness, the Voidborn. These ancient entities challenge humanity's assumptions about the cosmos and their place within it. Tensions mount as new threats emerge from the shadows, forcing uneasy alliances and testing the resolve of Earth's defenders in a battle that transcends mere territory. The Nemesis and its accompanying vessels pierce the black veil of uncharted space, a procession of gleaming steel and silent resolve. Beyond the known stars, past the mapped constellations, lay a region whispered about in old tales and dismissed as myth: the Shadow Expanse. Captain Mira Volkov stood on the bridge, eyes sharp, pulse steady despite the weight of the unknown pressing upon them all. The distress signal, faint and fractured, had beckoned them into the dark. Its origin was mysterious, coordinates that shifted, transmissions laced with unfamiliar energy signatures. "Lieutenant Tyren," Mira called. "Any progress decoding the signal?" Tyren's fingers danced across the interface. "Partial. The signal contains a layered encryption unlike anything we've encountered. There are anomalies, energy fluctuations that don't correspond to known physics." Admiral Kalen joined, his expression grim. "That's consistent with reports of the Voidborn, enigmatic entities said to exist beyond conventional space, manipulating dimensions and reality itself." The crew exchanged uneasy glances. The Voidborn had been relegated to legends, ghost stories told to warn children and caution explorers. But as the Nemesis ventured deeper, legends began to bleed into reality. Suddenly, the ship's sensors flickered and dimmed. The lights pulsed erratically, the hull vibrated with an unseen force. "Shield integrity dropping," an officer shouted. "Unknown energy field detected." From the darkness ahead, massive shapes emerged, hulking forms that shimmered between matter and void, vessels not built but grown, alive and pulsating with strange bioluminescence. The void-born fleet loomed vast and alien, a tide of shadows and light. Their presence was overwhelming, a living testament to the cosmos's unfathomable mysteries. Mira's voice was steady, though the air seemed to thicken with tension. Prepare for contact protocols, but ready all defenses. Communication attempts began, signals sent and received in frequencies that warped and twisted. The Voidborn responded not with words, but with waves of raw energy, probing, testing, warning. In the hours that followed, a tense stalemate held, a fragile dance on the edge of war and understanding. The crew of the Nemesis realized this was not a mere battle for territory or power, but a confrontation with the very fabric of existence. The Voidborn challenged humanity's right to ascend, their cryptic warnings hinting at consequences far beyond war. As the Nemesis and its fleet prepared to navigate this perilous new frontier, Captain Mira understood that the true test had only just begun, a trial not of weapons, but of will, wisdom, and the courage to face the shadows over the horizon. In a desperate bid to communicate and understand the Voidborn, Earth's crew ventures beyond conventional reality into the mysterious veil, a dimension where time, space, and consciousness intertwine. Here, humanity confronts truths that challenge their very identity and purpose. The journey tests their minds and spirits, forcing them to redefine what it means to be human and to claim their place in a universe far stranger than imagined. The Nemesis drifted at the edge of known physics, suspended between the tangible universe and the shadowed realm beyond. The crew moved cautiously, instruments flickering under the weight of forces unseen, energies that bent light and warped time. Captain Mira Volkov stood before the starboard viewport, her reflection mingling with the ghostly stars beyond. The veil, the space the Voidborn inhabited, was no ordinary void. It was a realm where reality itself seemed to ripple, layers folding upon each other like a living tapestry. "Lieutenant Terren," Mira said softly, "status on our probes." "We've sent several quantum harmonizers," Terren replied, eyes locked on the fluctuating readouts. "They're attempting to resonate with the veil's frequencies. If successful, we might bridge the gap between our dimensions." Admiral Krylos entered, his expression grave. "The Council's warnings were clear. Many who have entered the veil never returned. Our minds may not withstand the journey." Mira nodded, determination stealing her features. "We have no choice. If we are to survive, we must understand." The Nemesis initiated the harmonizers. Waves of energy cascaded outward, shimmering like ripples on a pond disturbed by a stone. The ship's hull pulsed in response, tethering itself to the veil's strange currents. Suddenly, reality blurred. Time fractured, moments stretched and compressed. Crew members staggered, eyes wide with awe and terror as visions of distant epochs and alien vistas flooded their minds. Mira felt herself dissolve and reassemble, consciousness expanding beyond human limits. She glimpsed the Voidborn, not merely as entities but as echoes of creation itself, guardians of cosmic balance. Whispers echoed, ancient, unknowable, warning of hubris, of civilizations lost to their own ambition. Yet within the chaos, a faint thread of hope shimmered, a possibility for coexistence if humanity could rise beyond its fear and fury. When the veil receded, the crew was changed, minds touched by the infinite, hearts heavy with newfound understanding. Mira turned to Krylos. "We came seeking war. Instead, we found a mirror, one that reflects not just what we are, but what we might become." The journey through the veil marked a new chapter, not of conquest, but of enlightenment. But the path ahead was perilous, and the choices humanity made now would echo through eternity. Transformed by their journey through the veil, humanity embarks on a mission to redefine its role in the cosmos. Old enmities give way to fragile alliances as Earth reaches out to former foes and unknown civilizations. The Judgment Armada becomes a force for exploration and unity, navigating a galaxy ripe with both peril and promise. The dawn of a new era begins, but shadows linger and the future remains uncertain. The stars no longer seem distant. They pulsed with life, secrets, and endless possibility. The Nemesis sailed through the cosmic sea, its hull bearing the scars of war, but its crew emboldened by the revelations of the veil. Captain Mira Volkov stood on the bridge, gazing not just at points of light, but at worlds waiting to be understood, friends waiting to be made, and futures waiting to be forged. Admiral Krylos approached, his voice quieter than before, carrying the weight of change. "We've seen what lies beyond the veil of reality, Mira. We've glimpsed the fragility and strength of all life." She nodded. "Now we must build bridges, not walls. The Judgment Armada must evolve, from hunters to heralds. Across the fleet transmissions flowed, messages of peace, offers of alliance and shared knowledge. Former enemies hesitated, then responded with cautious optimism. The fractured remnants of the Galactic Council sought reconciliation, while new civilizations watched with wary curiosity. Lieutenant Tiren coordinated communications with diplomats and explorers, weaving a network of connections that spanned light years. There is fear, but also hope. Many long for the chaos to end. On Earth, celebrations mixed with solemn remembrance. Monuments rose to honor those who fell, while children looked up at the stars with wonder and dreams of their own. Yet not all welcomed the change. Hardliners on all sides whispered of betrayal and weakness. Shadows of conflict lingered like ghosts, reminders that peace was a fragile thread woven from countless sacrifices. Mira knew the road ahead would be perilous. Diplomacy required patience. Trust had to be earned anew. But humanity had survived fire and darkness. It had faced judgment and emerged with its spirit unbroken. As the Nemesis charted a course into the unknown, its crew prepared for challenges unseen and wonders untold. The galaxy was vast, its mysteries endless, and humanity's journey was just beginning. As humanity steps fully into its new cosmic role, the echoes of the Judgment War ripple through time and space. The legacy left behind is one of resilience, unity, and an unbreakable will to survive and thrive. Old wounds begin to heal, new stories are born, and the stars themselves bear witness to a species forever changed, no longer defined by conflict, but by the endless pursuit of hope and discovery. The universe stretched endlessly before them, a canvas of infinite possibility, painted with the light of countless stars and the whispers of forgotten worlds. Captain Mira Volkov stood on the bridge of the Nemesis, gazing at the swirling nebulae beyond the viewport. The battles, the betrayals, the sacrifices, they had all forged something new in humanity's soul. Behind her, the hum of the ship carried the voices of a crew transformed, their eyes alight with determination and wonder. Admiral Krylos joined her, the lines of war softened by hope. "We have faced judgment, and through it we were reborn." Mira smiled faintly. "Not just reborn, transcendent. The judgment was our crucible, but also our awakening." Messages from new allies came in, invites to councils, treaties, shared ventures into the unknown. The galaxy's tapestry was changing, threads once torn now woven together with cautious care. On Earth, children looked to the skies with dreams no longer shadowed by fear, but illuminated by stars. Monuments stood not just for those who had fallen, but for those who had dared to dream beyond survival. The Voidborn, once mysterious and feared, had become a symbol of cosmic balance, a reminder that the universe was vast and mysterious, And that understanding required humility. Mira turned to Kalen. Our journey is far from over. But now we choose our path, not as subjects to judgment, but as architects of our destiny. He nodded. And whatever challenges come, we will meet them together. As the Nemesis charted a new course toward exploration, peace, and unity, the legacy of the Judgment echoed across the stars, a testament that even in the darkest trials, humanity's light could burn bright. The end.